until noon. UN Rocks is a program centered on promoting the UN agenda for sustainable development and providing education and information on United Nations programs and activities to peace ambassadors. UN Rocks! UN Rocks! And we are ready to rock and roll.
Hello, and welcome back again. As I was saying before our introduction came on, I'm your co-host today, Ambassador Dr. Esther Okoye, and with me is Ambassador Dr. Donette Anderson. Please give a short welcome to our guest today.
Welcome, welcome, Your Excellency. I'm excited, and thanks you're here with us today.
Also, my co-host is Ambassador Dr. Gracie. Can you please say a short welcome to our guests?
Oh, absolutely. Welcome, sir. Welcome tonight as we delve into all things United Nations. We are happy to pick your brain. How about that?
Well, you're welcome to UN Rocks. Today, we have a special guest for you who is going to give us insight into the significance of United Nations High-Level Political Forum. He is an ambassador with a long experience, and you're going to see why we chose this marvelous ambassador to be with us tonight. I hope you have your pen, a book, and a listening ear. Pay close attention. I will do the same. Thank you and welcome to our show tonight. So we are going to take a short break before we come back and introduce our guest tonight, or this morning, I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you.
And to give my
we're going to go on and
right thing better and more appealing should not be measured as doing the right thing. I believe that raising the bar after each action is quite important. And on this day, a day such as this, we should measure the achievements because there are so many dates. You recall that we've had the 2040 agenda, and we've had in 2016 when it was launched, 4 years of this ambitious 25-year agenda is gone. We are at the right juncture to look at the progress made in cultivating the institutional infrastructure of our societies to ensure the dignity of the African child.
Hello, we are back. You're listening to UN Rocks, a presentation of Wolmi ICC in the Department of Northeastern Affairs. I hope you enjoyed the clip. Now, let me introduce to you our special guest today, His Excellency Ambassador Dr. Denise J. Antoine, former Vice President, United Nations General Assembly, 69th Section. Please pay close attention as I read his bio. His Excellency, you're most welcome to UN Rocks today. His Excellency Dr. Denise J. Antoine has years of high-level bilateral diplomatic experience as an ambassador to the United Nations, the Organization of American States, Mexico, and Panama. The Inter-American System, he was the ambassador to the United Nations and People's Republic of China. He was ambassador at large and director of the Office of International Program and Exchange of the University of the District of Columbia. Elected vice president to the 69th regular session of the United Nations, he is a recipient of the Martin Luther King Jr. Legacy Award for International Service in 2008. Former Dean of the Corps of Ambassadors of the Western Hemisphere, he has been the Vice Dean of all ambassadors represented in the United States. He represented Grenada in the Board of Directors of the Inter-American Agency for Cooperation and Diplomatic, IAC for short, IACD for short. Served as chairman of the Board of Directors and the Young Americans Business Trust. Throughout his tenure, Ambassador Antoine Doctor has also served in leadership capacities such as chairman of the Permanent Council of the Organization of American States, delegation to UNESCO in France, represented Grenada in specialized ministerial meetings and hemisphere bodies throughout the Western Hemisphere, served as head of delegation to the General Assembly of the Association of Caribbean States, ACS for short, head of delegation and presenter at the World Trade Organization round of negotiations in Seattle, Washington, senior advisor to Grenada delegation to the Summit of Heads of State and Governments of the Americas in Santiago, Chile, and Quebec City, Canada. Head of delegation to the first Summit of the Americas in Mar del Plata, Argentina, served as chairman of the Executive Committee of the Inter-American Council for Integral Development. He also served as coordinator of the Caribbean Community, the CARICOM, Corps of Ambassadors in Washington, D.C. His Excellency also has a PhD in management from La Salle University, a master's in organizational management from National Louis University, MA in education from the University of District of Columbia. He has tribute to publications. One is Let's All Be Ambassadors for a Better World, Get on Board, Dear Children of the World, include chapter contribution to United Nations Habitat, Colorado State University, Public Spaces for Sustainable Development and Urbanization, published by Tahal Abdul Garzela and Company International in 2016. He also published Voice of Representation, a collection of letters, messages, and speeches of an ambassador, 2012. Effective Diplomacy, a practitioner's guide, which shares insight on applied diplomacy in the United States and beyond, 2009. As Ambassador, Your Excellency, you are most welcome in our midst today. It's with great pleasure that we introduce you to our members and our guests today. But I have a question for you, which our members and our guests will learn from your experiences, because you have a lengthy experience, and we can now wait to hear from you, sir. Your Excellency, where are you? Where you have been at the corridors of you have been at the corridors of diplomatic careers for years. So what prompted you into this dimension? Can you please shed a light on your life intentions and why you chose this path? You're on mute, sir. You're on mute.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Let me thank you very much. And I sat here and I was wondering, is she really speaking about me? But let me first respond to your question. You know, being in the corridors of diplomatic career for years, what prompted me in this dimension? You know, what I would say is it's almost like a calling, you know, which I attribute to my interest in public service for the greater good. As a child growing up in the small country Grenada, I learned a lot by listening to the outside world, listening to the public officials speaking about making a better world. And I became influenced and I participated in youth activities, youth leadership, the scouting, the police boys clubs, all that gives me opportunity to share skills and to listen to my elders. And so it's almost like a calling. I attribute that to my interest developed as a child in public service for the greater good.
Wow, that is awesome. So I truly appreciate that coming from you. So you started just as a young boy. If I can direct that as a young man, you didn't start from the, just being an employee. You started from the grassroots, working your way up. And we appreciate that because we might have some young people listening. So it's very important that they pay attention, that you can get involved. This idea of listening to public officials, wanting to do better for the society, sparked your interest. And I want every young people that is hearing our voice today to choose their path early. Think about what you like, what you want to do, what influence you want to contribute to the general good of this planet Earth. Thank you so much, sir. My next question will be, you have for years been in most diplomatic agency in executive positions. From your bio, you have taken the top positions at Permanent Council of the Organization of American States, the second highest ranking ambassador in the United States of America. What were your experiences and how are these agencies associated with the United States?
Well, these agencies are associated with the United Nations in various ways. When the acronym OAS is used, we must first refer to the operational activities for development segment, that is OAS, and that is a part of the Economic and Social Council, ECOSOC, of the United Nations. So I want to put that aside. Now, that agency reinforces the linkage between policy and operational functions. But the Organization of American States, OAS, is the oldest regional organization in the world, which dates back to 1826 with Simon Bolivar and traces its origin in these years as a Central and South American conference was called. That is the Conference of Panama, where the Central and South America country attended in 1826, and they developed a Treaty of Perpetual Union. Now, this Treaty of Perpetual Union, the League and Confederation, formed the basis for the OAS and its charter. Now, today, the organization started with just Ecuador, Panama, Colombia, Venezuela. Today, all the countries of the Western Hemisphere are eligible members, and there are now 33 members of the OAS, prominent members of the OAS, and more than 30 observer countries outside of the hemisphere. Now, what does the OAS do? Now, the OAS is a political forum with departments relating to economic and social development of its member states. And the prominent members of the OAS are of the Western Hemisphere. That is from Canada way down to Chile, including the entire North, Central, South America, and the Caribbean. So the OAS is almost like a subset of the UN, but it is for the region, and it works collaboratively with the United Nations.
Okay. Wow. That's a really historic lesson right here. I didn't know that it started that far back. That was really interesting. And so it's that interconnectedness of different organs that made OAS. And it's also for the service of mankind through ECOSOC.
Well, remember, ECOSOC, the United Nations Economic and Social Council, the operational activities for development segment is called OAS in the UN acronyms. However, the Organization of American States, which is OAS, is the Western Hemisphere. That is the oldest organization of all the countries from north in Canada to Sweden south in Chile, including the Caribbean. So yes, it is member states' multilateral activities working together to make sure that the global body, the OAS, all its resolutions are also worked by the member states of the OAS, because the member states of the OAS are all members of the United Nations.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for clarifying that. Truly, I'm so pleased that you expanded on that, and I hope our guests are listening and taking note like I am. We're gonna take a short break. Thank you, sir, for your wide knowledge, and we are gaining ground here. So there's more to come. Don't go anywhere. We are coming back. Please stay tuned. This is UN Rocks.
Well, coming up soon, 2 days virtual gender faith executive course on Friday, July 21st and Saturday, July 22nd, 2023 from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. EST. Registration only $1,000 USD. Our facilitators is Excellency the Right Honorable Dr. Philip Finn, Her Excellency Ambassador Diana Kennelly, and Chief Executive Officer Ruby Galen. This course is to enhance your knowledge in gender diversity, rooted from the United Nations Commission of Status of Women Conference held in March 2023. Once again, 2 days virtual gender faith executive course on Friday, July 21st and Saturday, July 22nd, 2023 from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. EST. Registration only $1,000 USD. You really don't want to miss this opportunity to get equipped to make a difference in the lives of women around the world. You can contact Cycle International University at cyclechaplaincy.org or www.cycleinternational.org. Well, coming up soon, 2 days virtual gender fate executive course on Friday, July 21st and Saturday, July 22nd, 2023 from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. EST. Registration only $1,000 USD. Our facilitators is Excellency the Right Honorable Dr. Philip Finn, Her Excellency Ambassador Diana Kennelly, and Chief Executive Officer Ruby Galen. This course is to enhance your knowledge in gender dimension of innovation, technology, change, and education in the digital era. This is rooted from the United Nations Commission of Status of Women Conference held in March 2023. Once again, 2 days virtual gender fate executive course on Friday, July 21st and Saturday, July 22nd, 2023 from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. EST. Registration only $1,000 USD. You really don't want to miss this opportunity to get equipped to make a difference in the lives of women around the world. You can contact Cycle International University at cyclechaplaincy.org or www.cycleinternational.org.
Ambassador Donette, you're mute.
Welcome back. You're listening to UN Rocks. If you are just joining us, we are talking with our special guest and learning all about the UN High-Level Political Forum starting July 17 in New York City. Your Excellency, are you ready for me?
I am.
All right. So, Your Excellency, you were the Vice President of the UN General Assembly 69 session. Can you elaborate more on this position and what is the interconnectivity to the various organizations of the UN? Talk to me a little bit about that.
That's a very loaded question.
I asked you if you were ready for me. You said yes, you were.
However,
break it down as much as you can.
say that all vice presidents,
yes,
are members of the General Committee.
Mm-hmm.
When the president of the General Assembly is absent, one of the vice presidents is called upon to assume the role of acting president of the General Assembly.
Okay.
With full mandates and responsibility as the president of the General Assembly. Now, but vice presidents from the prominent members of the Security Council do not usually assume this role.
Okay.
So it's more than one vice presidents are elected. However, they are only called upon to act as president, and frequently too, because you're aware that the General Committee has many activities going on. And so one person can't be everywhere. And in that regard, the vice president is as important as the president.
I agree.
So that is exactly the interconnectivity of the various organs. The vice president must be prepared to be present in all cases when he is needed, because there are more than one activities conducted. There's simultaneous meetings, and so one has to be there, one has to be another point. So that's the role of the vice president, to ensure that the work of the General Assembly continues flawlessly and without break.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for breaking that down for us today. Thank you for sharing this information for us today. For new ambassadors, like us, it's good to hear from experienced veterans like you And so to help us through our journey. So I really appreciate you coming and just break that down for us. I know it was a loaded question, but you really unloaded very well. You unloaded very well. So, so take a deep breath, and I have one more. It's not as loaded, but I know you can do it.
All right, I'm with you.
So elaborating further on the UN General Assembly, as you have noted, how are the resolutions on issues pertaining to humanity and development made into action for global implementation across the world?
Well, now the UN Sustainable Development Goal comes to mind.
Yes, yes.
Now, before the pandemic, right?
Yes.
It is the best example of how challenges are being confronted. And the General Assembly adopts 5 humanitarian aid resolutions as delegates.
Wow.
Debate best strategies for responding to the COVID conflict, climate change, and crises. And that is global crisis.
Yes, that was indeed.
We were talking now about how to confront the implementation for global humanitarian needs relating to development. And there it is. The example that I gave is before the pandemic.
Yes.
We can remember we had the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals.
Yes,
however, the best example here is the General Assembly adopted 5 humanitarian resolutions.
Wow.
That is humanitarian aid.
Wow.
As delegates debated strategies to respond to COVID-19 in relation to climate change and international crisis. Now, the work of UNDP focuses on country issues pertaining to human and development contexts. So through 3 broad developments, settings that require tailored solutions to adequately address deficits and barriers. For example, eradication of poverty in all its forms and dimensions, accelerating structural transformation for sustainable development, and building resilience to crises and shocks. Those are the extraordinary issues pertaining to humanitarian and development needs.
Wow, thank you so much. That's really extraordinary based on what you are saying. And I really, really appreciate you for breaking down this for us, because if for us, as I said, new ambassadors, it's good to have this information, and for our listeners also to know exactly what is happening. And so I want to thank you so much for breaking that down for us, sharing those information, sharing your insights. And we're going to just take a quick break, take a breather. We're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, you're going to be here from Ambassador Gracie, and we'll be right back.
COVID-19 pandemic, the inequality of the recovery, and the climate crisis. We must act now to save lives and livelihoods over the next months and years. It will take global action to fix this global crisis. We need to start today.
The Sustainable Development Goals offer the best path to fix the global crisis. The High-Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development brings together heads of state, ministers, business leaders, and civil society. This year, the forum will look for ways to build back better from the coronavirus disease while advancing the full implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Special focus will be on education, gender equality, life below water, and life on land, as well as partnerships. 44 countries will share their successes and setbacks with their voluntary national reviews. The 2022 Sustainable Development Goals report will spotlight the devastating impact of the global crises across all SDGs. The HLPF will gather the best minds to look for the best ways to achieve the global goals. Follow the action towards sustainable development for all.
Okay, welcome back. Welcome back. You are listening to UN Rocks, and we are here with our very distinguished guest, His Excellency Dennis Antoine. Thank you, sir, for all that you shared with us so far. I am really delighted to have this particular segment on the HLPF because it is coming up in the next couple of weeks. And that last question you mentioned kind of segued right into the SDGs, right? And one of the things that we're excited about, there are a number of us who are going to be doing an SDG review over the next couple of weeks. So I'm kind of excited about that. This is my second time being able to present a review for the SDGs. And I'm, you know, what our mandate for this show is to bring the community to the UN and the UN to the community. That's our little slogan, right? And so we want to, one of the things I want to focus on in this segment is giving an understanding just to our general community about the HLPF and how they can participate. I like the idea that it incorporates, you know, representatives from all parts of government and business and healthcare and NGOs and faith-based organizations. So it's plenty of room for a lot of input from a lot of different segments of society, which I think is really good. And so as we approach this over the next 5 days with this 2-week program on the forum, can you tell us a little bit about what the HLPF is all about and how it's related to the global community for development? And because I know a lot of people, you know, they hear about these things and it sounds very high and lofty to the community, right? But I want to kind of give them a sense of what it's about and even how they could participate, how their organization, their community can participate and what it means to them. Like when we make decisions and these recommendations go forth, how does it affect, you know, how does it trickle down to where we live? You're muted, sir. You have to.
Now,
There you go.
the high-level political forum on sustainable development, which is acronym HLPF. You see that flying around. Now, you may be aware that it will be held on Monday, the 10th of July.
Yes.
And Wednesday, July 19th. So it's a week of activities under the auspices, of course, as we mentioned earlier, under the auspices of the Economic and Social Council, which is ECOSOC. Now, this includes a 3-day ministerial segment of the forum, beginning on Monday the 17th and ending on the 19th. Now, as part of the high-level segment of the council, now the last day of the high-level segment of ECOSOC will be the 20th of July. Now, the theme will be accelerating recovery from the coronavirus and the full implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Now, this is truly an undertaking. In the forum, participants will discuss the effective and inclusive recovery measures address in the, and address the impacts that the pandemic has had on sustainable development. Remember, the coronavirus derailed the progress of the SDGs.
Yes.
So what is happening now is an assessment of how do we recover to make this next 7 years, in 2030 is only 7 years. So, so we're talking now about how full implementation of the 2030 agenda at all levels may be attained. So the HLPF will also review in depth 6, in other words, goal 6, if you remember goal 6, which was to clean water. And goal 7, affordable and clean energy. And 9 on industry, innovation, infrastructure. And we went on to talk about sustainable cities and communities.
Yes, that's the one I'm going to be reviewing.
And on the partnership for the goals. So there is so much work to be done to make this SDGs a reality. So the national reviews, remember, we will have some national reviews. Some countries will give a review on the implementation of the agenda and look at, the agenda in the forum will be carried out in the forum. They'll be assessing country report like. So the HLPF in July will also support midterm review of the implementation and preparation for the 2023 SDG Summit that's coming. So the HLPF to be covered under the auspices of the General Assembly in 2023. This is the 77th session continuing until the 70th begins in September. So in the General Assembly in September 2023, the HLPF will be convened under the auspices of the Assembly. So it's a lot of work. How can individuals participate? I think they have to get close to their organizations and to assess and assimilate the data so that there could be accurate reporting on what has happened and what is the status to date on the activities being conducted.
Okay. So at the HLPS, so they're also are they reviewing what has been happening up to date, as well as making recommendations, if I'm understanding you correctly?
Yes, indeed. They're looking, the national reviews of the implementation of the 2030 agenda will be carried out.
Okay.
So that they get a sense as to where are we now, because different stage of readiness, different progress will be reported by various countries. Not all countries manage the same. And so we'll be getting a sense as to how are things today and where we need to put emphasis as we go in.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, and just to recap for our audience, and so they can participate by getting involved with various organizations who are involved in work, and to begin to gather data and to submit, status reports, I guess, of where we are and what they're doing. And then, so then would they submit that? How would they submit that data or those reports?
Well, in the reporting, in the forum, participants will discuss effective and inclusive recovery measures to address the impacts of the COVID. So they're going to do an assessment by the participants, and they would come up with inclusive measures to address this situation. Okay.
Thank you, sir. I think that helps helps us to understand, to relate, to make that relate to where we are in the community and how we can actively participate, because these are, after all, the sustainable development goals, clean water, partnerships, infrastructure, all those things are things that affect us in our everyday lives. And so there are those who really want to get involved and try to help move the needle, but don't know how. So Your Excellency, you know, we're here in the Department of Northeastern Affairs, and we have the mission, as I mentioned, of taking the UN to the community and the community to the UN. So how do you see this initiative, and what can you advise on furthering our objective of sustainability?
Well, while you're doing it now, you are presenting to the community through this information sessions the way things are. Now, taking the UN to the community, and the community is indeed a focus of mine. You know, it's coincidental that I have been thinking about taking the UN to the community. And you know what I did? I wrote a children's book, Get on Board, Get Children of the World. And it's written in 5 languages. And that is a journey to the future, looking at how the SDGs have changed our world. And the Secretary General of the United Nations was the tour guide of the children of the world. You know, why I'm speaking to youths now, it refers to the future, because everybody's saying the youths are the future. So what you're doing, you're doing the right thing, speaking to young people. Let's all be ambassadors for a better world. You know,
yes,
I have written that and I'm sharing that. And it's in 5 languages, English, Spanish, Chinese, Korean. And the world has this message that the youths must be engaged. We must get involved in intergenerational relay to pass on the sentiments of the work that you're doing as peace ambassadors and as envoys for the good. So it is about taking the message to the community, because we're talking global, but global is local. All aspects of the community makes global community. So I am pleased to hear and to know that you are taking the UN to the community. It does not belong in the hall, in the resolution books. The people has to learn what the consensus is and how to make our world a better place.
Yes.
Get on board, children of the world, and let's all be ambassadors for a better world. It's a journey to the world.
Yes, we actually put up a picture of the booklet, so I'm glad
you know,
the artist
I tried
supporting
not
with
to
that.
do that, but what I do, you see this here? This says, let's all be ambassadors for a better world.
Yes,
and
I like that.
Is about what ambassadors do. Ambassadors don't just ride in big cars and sit in the halls of the United Nations. They are about building peace and understanding and making a better lives for others. So the SDG is an intergenerational relay. So you, ambassadors, are passing on the truth and the benefits of the truth to make a better world.
Amen.
Thank you very much, sir. Those are things that we're going to take with us and that we will solidify in our spirits. And so that's what the mission is. That's the mandate for every peace ambassador. And we take that very seriously. I think I speak for our whole team that we take our role as peace ambassadors very seriously. I mean, we recognize that God will use us in different capacities, but we're all on the same mission and on the same path. And it is, we're glad to have mentors like you and those who been at this for a while to kind of give us a sense of, you know, putting us on the straight path to have the right attitude, the right mindset, and, you know, starting out right. When you start out right, you know, my mother used to say, start out the way you can hold out, right? So when we start out right, we'll stay on the same path. It's kind of, you know, train up an ambassador the way they should go, right? So
Yes.
thank you so very much for sharing with us today. It has been really enriching. So we're going to take just a brief break before but before we go, I would like to ask you, you know, I know we asked you several questions, but there might be some things that you just want to share with us as ambassadors to kind of sum up your time here. And I'd like to give you an opportunity to just share some final remarks before we close.
Thank you.
So we're going to do that now before we take a break.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Well,
I'm sorry.
This has been a real privilege. And I think that the most significant takeaway from this session for me is passing on my thoughts, because we are in an intergenerational relay. We cannot speak about the future without realizing that we are in it. As we breathe the next breath, it's the future. Remember, we are speaking today in 2023 in the future that we thought of when we formed the SDG in 2015. We are in the future. History does not stop.
Yes.
It continues. And so I am very pleased to know that in the midst of individuals who are sharing their thoughts, sharing the values, and we're passing on that baton. And that baton is the values, and it is the culture, and it is the sentiment of truth that you share with youth. So I'm advising that you continue your work as peace ambassadors in building understanding, which is the most important thing. Today, it is not all the clothes, it is not all the jewelry and the whoosh, it is disposition. The most beautiful garment is your disposition. So let's dispose ourselves as truth and peace ambassadors as we go into our communities and share our values. I thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so very much, sir, for those final remarks. I do so appreciate it. And so now we're just going to take a brief break with our final break for the day, and then we will have our final closing. Okay, well, we're back, and we have been discussing the UN high-level political forum in our previous segment. with our special guest,
3
His
p.m.
Excellency.
EST. Registration only 1,000 USD. Our facilitators is Excellency the Right Honorable Dr. Philip Finn, Her Excellency Ambassador Diana Kennelly, and Chief Executive Officer Ruby Galen. This course is to enhance your knowledge in gender dimension of innovation, technology, change, and education in the digital era. This is rooted from the United Nations Commission of Status of Women Conference held in March 2023. Once again, 2 days virtual gender faith executive course on Friday, July 21st and Saturday, July 22nd, 2023 from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. EST. Registration only 1,000 USD. You really don't want to miss this opportunity to get equipped to make a difference in the lives of women around the world. You can contact Psycho International University at psychochaplaincy.org or www.psychointernational.org.
Thank you, and we're back. I hope that you all have enjoyed the insights that were shared today by our special guest, His Excellency Dr. Dennis Antoine. I hope that you were inspired, that you took notes, and that you are ready to get involved in your community to make a difference. As Dr. Antoine said, let's all be peace ambassadors for a better world, right? The purpose of UN Rocks. Word of Life Ministries International, Inc. is an NGO, and it is an NGO with special consultative status to the United Nations. And this is an initiative, UN Rocks is an initiative of Word of Life International, Inc., Wolmi, and the International Consultancy Cabinet. So to support, we do this work to support the United Nations agenda under the mandate of Acts 9:15, which is to take the gospel to all nations. UN Rocks is an initiative of the Department of Northeastern Affairs, and this program is centered on promoting the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. You've heard us speak a lot about that this evening. We really want to take the UN to the community and the community to the UN. So we will do that. Every first Saturday of the month, we will be sharing, having open discussions, interviews such as we had tonight. We will be highlighting UN events such as the high-level political forum, which is coming up in a couple of weeks, and we'll be sharing delegate experiences. I hope you were inspired today, and I hope you were even provoked to get involved in your community. Amen. For questions or requests for additional information, you may contact us at N as in Nancy, Eastern Affairs, UN Rocks @gmail.com. That's N as in Nancy, Eastern Affairs, UN Rocks @gmail.com. I want to thank my co-host today, Her Excellency Dr. Danette Grant Anderson, and my co-host, Her Excellency Dr. Esther Okoye, and also Dr. Ada Okika, who was our technical support. Ladies, I'd like to give you a moment for final remarks. Your Excellency, Dr. Danette.
Thank you so much. I really just wanted to thank Your Excellency to share his experience with us today and the insight, and also break down and share with us the high-level political forum details. I am so much knowledgeable than when I came in. So I really appreciate him breaking it down and educating us on what it's all about. And but what resonates with me, which it's gonna be a takeaway for me, let all be ambassador for a better world. I like that. Yes, I really like that. So, and I want to thank you, Your Excellency, for your encouraging words. And I am happy that we are on the right path, taking the UN, the community and the community to the UN. So when we hear from experience, ambassadors like you. And I call it the I places, you know what I mean? It's really touching, and you take that time to be here with us to educate not us, but also all our listeners. So I want to thank you so much. Keep up your good works, and we're happy you were able to educate us on this high level political forum. Sorry I won't be there, but for July, but I'll catch it next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ambassador Dr. Esther Okoye. Dr. Okoye, final remarks? You're muted.
Sorry about that. I just wanted to say a big thank you to Your Excellency, Dr. Denise Antoine, for it's humbling to have you in our presence tonight. And it's been a history lesson for me. I have taken a note because I will also share with my own children. And I like the book, Get on Board, Dear Children of the World. They need to start early. For us, we have started late, but it's not too late. And I want to thank you, sir, that you not only talk the talk, but you walk the walk. Thank you so much for educating us from the bottom of my heart. And I know that I'm speaking for my co-host here, and I'm also speaking for our guests. This is time to get involved. Let us all be ambassadors. Change the community for the world. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you all so very much. You have been listening to UN Rocks. Thank you for joining us today. And join us again next week when we are ready to rock and roll.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, sir. God bless you.
Good night. Good night.
We're going to say a word of prayer. Who's